Remote Vanguard database text-only search initialized. Welcome user Ace of Hearts. Please enter search query. News about Cade. There are 4 new articles since your last search 26 hours 33 minutes ago. That's way too low. Sorry, I didn't understand. That's way too low. Who's more popular than Cade? Sorry, I didn't. Who's more popular than Cade 6? Sorry, first article about Cade. The first city news article about Cade was 126 years, 11 months, 126 years ago. I'm way older than that. Major events of 126 years ago. Significant progress made in faction accords. Related Brask A. Traveler True Origin and Perp. Minor events of 126 years ago. First 25-match Crucible winning streak recorded. Related Ray Ikora Ray. That's what I wanted to say. Centaur Planet OID 7066 Nessus re-enters system after unexplained delay. Related, did we get invaded by horse people? Sorry, did horse people ever exist? There are no known encounters with quadruped life forms capable of space flight. Some early sightings of Fallen raiding parties mistakenly identified their methods of rapid locomotion as equine. Did Fallen ever ride horses? No. What were we talking about? Last 50 searches across all devices chronological. Banshee real name, Banshee 44 real name, Scout Rifle locker default password, Traveler giant eyeball planet, giant eyeball aliens, giant alien eyeballs, delete image history, how do I delete images, accidentally set giant alien eyeball as terminal background, how much do new terminals cost, Vanguard discount for new Traveler, over 50 million results found, please narrow search criteria, Traveler eyeball, over 70 million search results found, Please, where did the Traveler come from? Over 10 million results Traveler googly eyes terminal background. Please connect to a device with an image display to view these results. Traveler road trip snacks. Since the Traveler's final exodus from I.O. prior to the collapse, Echo Mesa has been a popular pilgrimage destination for Guardians. As the Traveler's transformation of the Jovian moon was incomplete, I.O.'s climate and geography do not support agriculture in the conventional sense. Vanguard Commander Zavala therefore Zavala snacks. As results tagged with the following related search, queries require 2/3 Vanguard authorization for disclosure. Zavala snacks, Zavala action snacks, Titan vitamins, edible Zavala, Zavala action vitamins, Vanguard vitamins. What? All results tagged what Ikora current location. Warlock Vanguard Ikora Ray is currently in the Underwatch. Would you log out? Thank you for using the Vanguard text-only database, user Ace of Hearts. Be brave. I would have to go on record as saying this is probably my favorite Grimoire card of all time, and I didn't know that just Cade 6 doing a Google search was going to be that fantastic. Next one's Eris Morn. This one gets a little dicey from a little bit I've read. The tower's medbay was still. Guardians might operate across the system at all hours, but even at the heart of the last city, there is sometimes quiet. The awoken man lay upon the bed like a broken thing. Machines monitored his every twitch, every aspect of his physical status. The steady, quiet blip of his heartbeat was the dominant sound in the room. A small transplex window sat in one wall of the room. Hovering there eerily still was a ghost, its single eye reflecting against the inside of the window, a steady red glow. In the corner of the room sat a chair, cheap vinyl covered. This chair could have been a relic from the Golden Age itself, and suddenly it creaked. Because in the stillness there was another measured source of breathing in the room. Eris Morn settled back into the chair, allowing the dark wisps of power she'd summoned to effortlessly flow from her back into the night. The green emanations from her shroud were stark against the dimness. Almost as an afterthought, the ghost turned from regarding the window. For a moment, 3 eyes stared at one before it turned back to its watch. Her face implacable, Eris regarded the awoken in the bed. His name was Asher Mir. Irascible, annoying, cantankerous, she'd even seen Ikora Ray become exasperated in his presence. Her lips quirked very slightly upwards, a kindred spirit if she'd ever had one. Her smile died as her gaze slid to his side. His warlock garb had been stripped from his body, and she could see his pale blue chest as it rose and fell on the bed. His arm was gone. In its place was a thing. The point where mechanicals knit with flesh was ghastly to behold, but the design was unmistakable to any guardian who'd been in the field. Asher Mir's arm was that of a Vex construct. Her eyes flickered to the ghost at the window. It, too, was transformed, the unmistakable outline of Vex technology encrusted and penetrating the small warden shell. That red, staring eye. She stood and stepped to the side of the bed. Her voice was gentle, quiet, but its timbre filled the still air of the room. "I am leaving, my old friend." The man in the bed did not stir. "Soon I will take my leave of this." She put her hands up to take in the medbay, the city, the tower, Earth. Lie. She placed a gloved hand on the back of his blue flesh and bone hand. "I wish we could have spoken, you and I, one last time. But my story here is done. I have avenged those I lost. I must find—" She stopped, and beneath the gauze of her face, all 3 eyes closed. For a moment she allowed herself to feel the dark tears that flowed unending down her face. The eyes reopened, and her strength blazed in the darkness. "I must find a new path through the night. The Hive are vast and ancient, a power from far beyond our realm. If we are ever truly to face them, ever truly to put an end to their hate, I must step beyond the safety of the city." She lifted her head and looked beyond the window to the horizon, to the grand sweep of the walls, the edge of humanity's reach. "Be safe, Ginsim scribe. A storm is coming, and I will not be at your side when it finds its way to your shores. Our shores." With those words, and a gathered locus of power, she was gone. The room returned to stillness. The blip of the awoken man's heart echoed from the machine, and the ghost stared into the night, its red eye never blinking. Well, holy crap. Sounds like Eris is kapoof, technically, from the tower, and she's no more. She is going off to do her own thing now, so kind of curious to see what her own thing will be, and if we will actually see her in Destiny 2, if that's the case. She'd be a shame of a character to lose. Other obviously points, Vex, of course, can actually take over a Guardian. They some way, shape, or form, and also take over ghosts. Okay, moving right along, we've got the Fallen. Theta, 9, 7, Red, Delta, high priority message, Commander's Terminal, eyes only, Twilight Protocol, recon groups A, J, and T returned to Tower Actual at 0300 local time. No casualties, light injuries across multiple members of J and T teams. Full debrief to follow. Breaking mission Top Sheet Protocol Commander. I want you to understand the scope of what we're looking at here. As the fire teams fanned out across the region, the Devils rushed to meet them. Our forces dealt with some post-SIVA pockets of Splicer activity, and every once in a while the Kings popped their heads up and scared the hell out of everyone. In other words, situation absolutely normal. That's a lie. The Fallen are abandoning the Cosmodrome. Hawk flyovers confirm the House of Devil's forces are simply not there anymore. They've been disorganized for the last few years, but there's never been a shortage of ground troops whenever we staged a significant sortie. Intel source Green Raven was right, and for the moment it's worth assuming their report on the House of Exiles, House of Winter, and House of Wolves are also accurate. We're fact-checking against independent fire team reports from the field. The kid all the SRL fans talk about, Marcus, he was in one of the fire teams out in the Cosmodrome. He pulled me aside and said to me straight, "The fallen houses are gone. The siege is broken. The stalemate we've had with the Elixni for, 100 years? It's over. We won. Commander, I'm not even sure they're flying the banners anymore. The teams found huge mounds of burnt cloth and armor, ceremonial piles, and several of the most hardcore fallen holdouts. What's changed? Where have the fallen gone? Why have they burned their banners? I'm drawing up a plan to coordinate forces from the Queen's Wrath, Felwinter Peak, and Warlock Orders, and more non-traditional outfits to follow up on these reports. I believe your wisdom will guide us through the trials ahead." Wow. So the first part of that, where he was saying, "See the splicers, kings popped out, blah, blah, blah," that was a lie. What he's basically talking about here is the Fallen are leaving the Cosmodrome, which means it's opening up rooms for more places. And after just seeing the frickin' teaser trailer, gee, I wonder who it could be. So the Fallen have some kind of ideas that the Cabal are on their way. Pretty awesome. Shax has 2 cards, so let's get to the first. "I beat you fair," Cade said. "Don't ever," he raised his hand high to wag a finger under Shax's nose, "try to outrace my golden guns." 2 children ran by in a blur, laughing. Shax shook his head slowly. It was a tactical error, won't happen again. Next time doesn't matter. You lost today, and today you owe me. The Titan stared at the hunter, but said nothing. His hands clenched in fists, Cade ignored the posturing and turned to face a desolate field of dirt and large rocks. A writhing mob of children spread across, clusters of them barreling into each other as they bellowed and screamed. A much smaller number of elders waded in the chaotic sea of miniature people. "What is this? What's happening?" Shax demanded. "The city has children. Children who must stay within designated safe zones." The 2 guardians watched as a boy climbed the largest rock on the field, but about 4 feet in the air, and howled at the sky. Of course, they're gonna go a little stir-crazy. Parents bring them out to this. You'd think it would have a name. This field every month, and they have at it. Better they hit each other than climb the walls. Shax stared at them. "So you're going to pick 2, Cade said. Shax looked down at him. "Pick 2 what?" "2 of the little brats. You'll pick a team of 2, and you're going to train them in this sport they play here. It's some kind of tournament. You know all about those." Shax surveyed the field. "This is ridiculous," he concluded. "That's not the last time you're going to say that today, but you've made your bet. Get comfy. I can pay you Glimmer, 2 Crucible matches worth. Why waste my time on children?" A child sped past and waved at Cade as Shax spoke. Cade responded with an upward thumb. "I like bugging you. Plus, you'd be surprised what goes on out there that only these little miscreants know about." Beneath the helmet, Shax stared holes into the Exo's face. "They run very fast. Listen, I know you're going to be you, but try to keep them intact. I make sure a guardian they know comes to visit them once in a while. You weren't the kid's first choice, or even their 10th, but you were the only one I could get leverage on this week." Shax stood motionless, but his fury engulfed the air like a flame. Cade turned to leave, his cloak billowing in the wind behind him. "I'm going to make so many Crucible bets while you're gone." "You wouldn't dare," Shax began, but Cade was already lost in a departing crowd of adults. Shax let out a breath and scanned the field again, past child after squirming child. He quickly discerned the 2 on the field with the best athletic potential. 2 human girls, snarling as they swung branches at each other, seemingly impervious to pain. He walked past them, through the crowd, and several elders paused just briefly enough in their youth wrangling to let their jaws hang. Lord Shax navigated the unruly sea with grace and headed toward a lone tree in a corner of the field. An awoken girl and a human boy sat huddled below it. As Shax's shadow eclipsed them, they looked up at him with the same brightness in their eyes. "What are your names?" he demanded. "Runa," said the awoken, with some disdain. She returned the blank stare of Shax's faceplate. "My name is Lanwabo." recited the human, more like a question than a statement. You look bored, Runa, Shax observed, and you look worried, Lanwaba. He pointed at the boy, who scooted back, startled. As far as I'm concerned, that makes both of you more intelligent than all these other dregs, said the Titan. You're with me. I need the rules of engagement. Shax stared at them, and they stared back. Someone talk to me. They both spoke at once, and Shax listened in silence as they talked over each other to explain the game. Teams of 2 launch orb projectiles at each other, and players struck are eliminated. If both players on a team are eliminated, the team is out of the tournament, and their chance to play on the field is over. What do you call this drill? Skirmish? Supremacy? Shax demanded. Dodgeball, said Runa. We'll work on the name. Follow my instructions, and I will lead you to victory. Shax waved one of the adults over. Look, Lord Shax, said the exo-male. Shax is fine. Only Guardians owed him respect. Find my team a match. Sooner the better. Shax brought Lanwabo and Runa to the field and kneeled. His hands engulfed their shoulders like a pair of descending moons. My friends, should you be killed, others lesser than you will take your place. Don't fight for yourself. Fight for those poor fools. Lanwabo opened his mouth as if to speak, but hiccuped instead. Shax turned them both around, the son and the other team across the field. He kneeled so low that his face was level with theirs. The 3 stared at the opposition, 2 human boys, eyes glaring, fists balled in determination. Their elder stood behind them, her eyes wide as she recognized Lord Shax. Runa yawned and rubbed her face, trying to clear the sleep from it. Shax whispered to his new charges, Crush them. This is going to continue, isn't it, with the kids? Oh, this is going to be great. The morning turned to noon as the sky darkened with dodgeballs and filled with the battle cries of children. When it was over, Lanwabo had tears in his eyes, but he tried his best to stand straight. Runa had a bloody knee and stared wordlessly at the winning team, the 2 snarling girls from earlier in the morning. The girls lifted an unrefined mass of plasteel, a makeshift trophy, over their heads, and they roared. Shax stared up at the traveler. It sat, buoyed by a mantle of clouds against a blue sky. It didn't seem to notice him. Tell me what you've learned, Shax said to Runa and Lanwabo, his faceplate fixed skyward. They did, and spoke for a continuous 3 minutes. Shax nodded slowly. So you're not mad? Asked Lanwabo, his face brightened. You've gained more from this than the victors, he replied. The 3 of them looked on as the 2 girls smashed the plasteel cluster into the dirt, and to the horror of the other children, it shattered. Runa's eyes narrowed ever so slightly, a dodgeball gripped in her hands. Shax continued, Victory is key to survival. You need it. Need to fight for it. But it teaches nothing. Does that mean, in a way, that we won? Asked Lanwabo. No. Shax looked down at him. You were annihilated. Oh, said Lanwabo. That's great. Runa continued to stare at the shattered trophy and the winning team. She slowly turned the dodgeball in her hand. Let this loss drive you, Shax said to both of them, but the game is over. Your focus should be on what's to come. Lanwabo stared at his hands. I think I'm going to read a book, he said, surprising himself as he uttered the words. We all make our own choices, said Shax. Runa said nothing as Cade strode up out of a shadow in the afternoon sun. Everything good? The hunter asked Shax. Do I look like I care? Come on, buddy. The bet's fulfilled. You don't have to pout. Just remember not to challenge a hunter with golden guns. I can and I will. Rematch. End of day. You're on. I hope you're ready to babysit till the next dawning. Ooh. Runa's ball struck Cade in the neck, a stealth attack taught to her earlier in the morning. He yelped, more surprised than hurt. Who did that? Who did that and how? The hunter demanded loudly as the ball bounced away. The ball didn't respond. Runa, Lanwabo, and several other children smiled. Shax, what have you been telling them? Shax stared silently down at the exo-hunter until Cade blinked. I found my sparrow, Cade said, to deflect. I can give us a lift back to the tower. As the other children and their elders dispersed, Runa watched Cade Sparrow as he carried the two guardians off towards the gleaming tower in the distance. She gave a Titan salute as they disappeared from view.